Hey friends, how are you? I've been missing for a couple of months and I'm sorry about that. Please watch this video all the way through if you're a content creator of any sort, especially a filmmaker, and take the necessary precautions to prevent the same thing that happened to me from happening to you. I'm not gonna lie, a terrible thing happened to me and it has caused me to feel depressed, sad and completely upset. But it's about time I get over it. To make a long story short, I started production on my next project, which is going to be a short film, about 3 months ago. If you know anything about me, you probably already know that one of my hobbies is making short films and uploading them to this channel. Usually, I'm a one-man band. I am responsible for every aspect of the production, including authoring the screenplays, directing, acting, editing, coloring, and everything else. I wanted to challenge myself creatively with this upcoming film, not just a little. I wanted to make a gigantic step. And to do that, I forced myself to stay behind the camera, so that I could better focus on the story, the performance, and of course, the production. The month of May 2022 was when I first had the concept for a thriller, and it took me 2 weeks to create the screenplay, followed by another 2 weeks of editing and rewriting to get it just right. The screenplay was 20 pages long, and that means usually 20 minutes of screen time. I say usually because the duration of the film in question was almost exactly 40 minutes. No longer a short film, but something in between a series episode and a feature film. Despite this, the pace was quick.
Everyone loved him.
Mrs. Costa, you gotta give me something to work with here. Even if I trusted you, and I don't, what do you think the judge would see?
There was a lot of action, drama, blood, sex, violence, emotions, and there were enough story twists to keep the viewer guessing. Because I wasn't gonna be one of the characters, the casting process was my first hurdle to overcome. I live in Milan, Italy, where the film is set. However, much like every other film that I have produced for this channel, the language that is used for this film is English. I have to admit that finding the best possible international cast was a complete stroke of luck for me. This film features the talents of over 30 actors and actresses from countries as diverse as the United States, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Australia, Russia, Germany, the Caribbean, and of course, Italy. All of these people agreed to work for absolutely free, which is something that I usually hate. I believe that everyone, especially those who are talented, should be compensated for their work. But I couldn't afford to pay them because I'm not rich, and most of all, I don't make money with my movies. My true calling is working in the film industry. I devote an enormous amount of time and effort to my craft, and when I'm satisfied with the results, I upload them on YouTube, where anyone can watch them at no cost. This is why I opted for passionate people over professional actors, although some of the primary roles were played by professional actors. It is impossible for me to adequately express how fortunate and privileged I feel to be able to collaborate with individuals in this group. The filming took place over the course of 2 weeks, between the months of June and July 2022. Did you like it?
You can be more theatrical.
More?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your
Okay.
moment.
Yeah.
Today, Julie Costa,
Okay.
is Judgment Day.
Okay.
So think cabaret.
Okay.
Silence, please! Because nobody was getting paid. We were only able to work on the production when the performers had time off from their regular jobs, which was primarily on the weekends. I had no idea that the making of this movie would need such a significant amount of work on everyone's part. I was working late into the night to ensure that everything on set, including the locations, the props, the gear, the costumes, and the makeup, was perfectly organized and ready to go. I couldn't foresee the extent of my investment in terms of time and also finances. Although I didn't pay the actors, I was feeding everybody and covering the costs for locations, gear rental, props, costumes. But was it all worth it in the end? Of course. I was so proud of what was going to be my all-time masterpiece. And once more, The time I spent with these individuals was worth hundreds of times more than what I initially invested in this project. From the first day, when we read the screenplay together at my place, the mood was relaxed and the atmosphere was vibrant. We all knew that we were going to have a great time. But when we finally worked together on set, magic happened. People were lending a helping hand to one another in order to get through trying circumstances and performing in the most difficult and demanding scenes. There were no superstars, but a group of humans working in harmony towards a greater cause, creating something immortal. I have learned a great deal from going through this experience, and I intend to share both my insights and the valuable lessons I've picked up in a series of videos that I'm currently planning. On July 10th, we all got together to film the very last scene of the movie. It was an outdoor scene that took place at night, and it took place in the most inconvenient, dirty, and uncomfortable spot that you could possibly imagine. Tracy, our beloved primary actress, was chained to the ground, eating dust, tied to 4 cars that would eventually rip her into pieces. I can never describe the number of mosquitoes around us. We finished that shooting at 3 a.m. while some people were meant to wake up that same day at 6 a.m. to get to their regular jobs. It was exhausting for everybody, but we made it. The following day, I also got up at 6 in the morning. Even though I have a job, I had to unpack all my equipment because I wanted to watch the video we shot the night before. By the time I was ready, it was 1 p.m. Finally, I sat at my workstation, got the memory cards out of my camera and put them into my computer to download the footage. It was Monday and I remember that day forever. When I launched the Premiere Pro, I got an error in the software telling me that all my video files were missing. Note that the day before I played the movie to my editor Kaylin, I had about 10 minutes of film that had been edited. After that, I turned off my computer and began packing the equipment that I needed to carry to the area where we were shooting. There was no other activity on my computer between then and Monday when I discovered the issue. Premiere Pro was unable to locate over 500 video files, which represented the entirety of the footage that we had captured from the beginning up until that point. I was paralyzed for a split second. I'm pretty sure that my heart skipped a beat. But despite that, I didn't let my anxiety get the best of me. I couldn't have lost almost half a terabyte of files. To my surprise, the video folder where I stored all the project video files carefully organized by shooting day wasn't in the main project folder. Initially I thought I must have accidentally moved it somewhere else, maybe dragged it by mistake into another folder. After searching in every possible directory, I couldn't find my video files. Again, I didn't worry too much because I have an 8 terabyte external hard drive where all my data was automatically backed up. The folder I was looking for was missing even on the backup hard drive. I immediately felt my heart racing. I thought that I must have deleted that folder by accident, and because my backup process mirrors the data from one drive to another, the files were then deleted on both disks. Although you cannot just delete a folder that size. When deleting huge files, your PC always asks for confirmation. I keep all of my work that is still in the process of being completed on a hard disk that is specifically designated for video. I was very careful not to write anything on that hard disk in order to protect the information that was stored on it. I then launched one commercial software that I bought to recover all files on that hard drive. It took over 6 hours to read sector by sector my 2 terabyte hard drive. And the files were all there in the recycle bin. I then copied them onto an external hard drive. The news came as a relief. However, when I clicked on them, I discovered that they wouldn't play. All of them. I subbed for 2 days straight while also trying everything I could think of to salvage what was left of these ruined files. Eventually, I realized that they weren't corrupted. they were empty. Somehow, the files were recovered with some metadata, such as the file name, size, and creation date. But disaster struck when I attempted to open them using a hex editor, and it was all over from there. All files were filled with bytes of zeros. After doing some research, I found that a couple of utilities could cause a similar situation. These utilities overwrite every sector of the hard drive where deleted files are stored, making it impossible to recover deleted data. But once more, this wasn't the case for me, for two different reasons. First, in order to use these utilities, the Windows PowerShell app on the computer must be open, and then a very particular command must be typed in. Even if it's possible, though extremely unlikely, that I erased the most essential folder on my computer by accident, there's no way I could have accidentally launched the Windows PowerShell app and typed in a very particular command to securely remove my files. But hey, maybe somebody else was responsible for that, like a hacker working remotely. Frankly, that's not likely. I don't think I'm on their radar. I'm not Tarantino yet. I live alone and my computer was shut off since the last time I've accessed those files until I found that they weren't there. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that this was done by a hacker. These security utilities replace any deleted data that is found on the hard drives, not just some. Instead, I was able to recover all deleted files on my computer except the ones I needed. By the way, have you heard of similar situations? Because I could not find anything like this on the internet. I did everything I could, despairing for 48 hours, where I wasn't sleeping or eating. I sought help. I called the best guys in town, a company that has 30 years of experience in file recovery, and paid them a 4-digit figure to save my work. During this time, I told nobody what had happened, besides, of course, my girlfriend. She assisted me with this project, as if it were her own project, even though it was mine. She was there for me at all times, day and night, aiding the actors as well as me while maintaining an exceptional level of professionalism. When I told her that we were never going to get to watch the movie that we had worked so hard for, I will never forget the look on her face. Before sharing this horror story with the actors, I waited about 1 week until the data recovery company got in touch with me and told me that they had failed to retrieve my files. Honestly, losing 60 days of my life, the money, the blood, and the sweat, wasn't really a huge tragedy. At least not as disappointing as having to share the bad news with my fellow actors who put their time and passion into these movies. I shot a video that I posted on the film's WhatsApp group. The editing software wasn't playing the movie. All my video files were corrupted because of a failure in the hard drive. The crying, me crying, didn't fix the situation. I waited to tell you this stuff because I wanted to have a clear picture of what happened. So I thought to shoot this video and share with you this horror story. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to all of you. This has been the most awful week I can remember of. I'm really sorry. I anticipated that almost everybody would have a chill attitude about it, but I was also aware that some of them would lose trust in me as a result of it. I figured that the average reaction was going to be something like, "Hey Seb, I'm really sorry about what happened, but I won't be available to work with you again," or something else along those lines. But it was completely wrong. They all placed a higher value on the time spent together than on the product itself. They were all genuinely sorry for me, stating that they will do it again and better. They supported me like I'd never expected, asking me not to give up on making films. It isn't every day that you meet people like that. For some time, I questioned myself about what had happened. I mean, after I finished shooting the entire thing, I realized that I had lost all of the movie files just before shooting the last scene that I still have.
How do you plead? I asked you, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
I was organizing a premiere of the film in a cool theater in Milan. I had the thought that all of us could get dressed up and watch the movie on a large screen together. There was a message to me from the universe, and it took me all summer to figure it out. And by this, I don't just mean focusing on improving my backup system, which was, of course, the very first thing I did. I know why this happened. It came to me during my vacation while I was recovering from the emotional breakdown I fell into. And that message I'll tell you in another video after I meet with the cast in September and get their feedback. However, here is the lessons I've learned, as well as some sound advice for other creators who, like me, make digital materials in a variety of forms. Photography, videos, art. In the future, every single piece of original footage that I produce will be promptly archived onto an external hard drive, which I will keep in a different location in the event that my house is destroyed in a fire. I will have at least one backup copy of my original files. I will not keep my backup devices connected to my PC. I will not be cheap in investing in backup devices. I am still not 100% sure if maybe I deleted the files by accident and they got overwritten by one of the recovery softwares I used. If I ever lose any data again, I will not try to recover it by myself. I will immediately seek professional help. The question isn't if you will lose important data. The question is when would that happen? Because it will happen. And when it happens, we need to be prepared. If you're curious, you can still check out some parts of the movie that I lost. These are clips that I shared with the actors along the way and the entire last scene. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'll see you real soon. Hey, I publish a lot of fun stuff on Instagram, so if you want to follow me, details right here.